Hello, everybody. I'm William Compton. I'm a public school teacher, lifelong Kentuckian, and Democratic candidate running for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd Congressional District. I started this podcast because folks in our communities deserve more than political noise. You deserve honesty, transparency, and a chance to hear directly from the people fighting for you. And I'm not doing this alone. I am here with my co host, Spencer Keck. Spencer, introduce yourself to everybody.
So this is the Hillbilly Think Tank side of the podcast, and I am Spencer Keck. I'm running for magistrate, 3rd District here in Hardin County, Kentucky. I live in Tunnel Hills area of Elizabethtown, and just really appreciate your taking the time to listen to us and hear what we've got to say, and we'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Exactly. And so today we are actually joined by someone who is not from Kentucky, but their office they're running for is so vitally important for their state, and it's vitally important for our state as well, being neighbors. We're joined by Blythe Potter, who is running for Secretary of State in Indiana. So, Blythe, I hope I said your first name right.
Yes.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about why you're running for Secretary of State in Indiana, and anything you want to share with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you. And a lot of this does actually relate really closely to Kentucky. And I have family in Smiths Grove. So I'm a veteran. I'm a small business owner. I'm a parent. I, like most of you listening, and the two of you likely, I have felt the impact of bad policies and worse leaders. And when we look at everything wrong with Indiana, affordability, healthcare, lack of opportunities, rolling back our rights, we cannot fix those until we get people to vote. So as the Secretary of State, I want to focus on increasing turnout, because a better educated, informed, and accessible voting base will mean better results for Indiana on all levels of government. But I also argue that if we can lead by example in Indiana, as progressive Democratic leaders, it's going to spill over into the other states too.
And Blythe, so I'm also a veteran. I forgot to mention that. Retired Navy Hospital Corps combat vet. So what was your background?
Thank you for your service. And I
Thank
also
you.
say anyone engaging in politics, especially in the Democratic side and red states, I'm using air quotes there, so serving our country. So thank you also both for running. It is not an easy thing. I was military police. And I was very, very fortunate in 2005. I got picked up with a small 19 group detachment to be personal security detail bodyguards, for lack of a better term, for General George Casey in Iraq.
All right. So Army and military police.
Yeah. Go Army, beat Navy. I know we lost yesterday. Womp, womp, womp.
I'm so sad I missed that game. I always like watching it just to see who wins. So Blythe, you mentioned you had family in Smiths Grove here in Kentucky. I'm just curious. I grew up in Smiths Grove, grew up going to North Warren Elementary up there. How long have they been up there? I forgot that connection.
Maybe 10 years now. Geez, if my sister is listening to this, she owns Bluegrass Vineyards.
That's right. Yes. I need to make a trip out there.
Yep.
And I was this close to having my wedding there. This close.
Oh, wow. That's so fun. Yeah, she's awesome. She's got 4 kids, so she's always busy, but it's good.
That's awesome. So Blythe, as you're traveling around Indiana, because my race is only a part of Kentucky, and I know Spencer's is way less than mine too. But you get the whole state. What are some things that you're hearing, some concerns you're hearing from people in Indiana?
Oh, probably very similar to what you're hearing. So most first and foremost, people are sick of being lied to and gaslit. We are tired of our leaders failing us. We are tired of our leaders lying to us. And we're tired of not being able to live an affordable lifestyle. And I'm also really tired, and a lot of people are too, of our local municipal candidates and our local municipal leadership, which in Johnson County, Indiana, are all Republican, having no clue what their peers on the state and federal level are doing to us. We recently had a joint commissioner and joint counselor meeting in Johnson County to talk about Senate Bill 1, which completely decimated our property taxes. It's saving us $300 a year, but it's forcing our county county officials to raise our local income tax or our lit taxes. And most of them had no clue who to blame, like to the point where on camera during this meeting, one of the people who've been elected and on this position for a long time leaned over and was like, okay, so when constituents complain about this, who do we blame? Like they're looking to blame Democrats who have had zero policy or zero legislation passed in the state of Indiana for like 21 years. So it's bad, and we're fed up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mentioned, it's hilarious. Excuse me. Words are escaping me right now. It's hilarious that you mentioned property taxes because I'm on a city commission here in Plum Springs and our property taxes went up as well. And they weren't Plum Springs city taxes. We actually kept the rate the same it was. But our county taxes, they lowered the percentage rate, but they had our PVA go around and reevaluate everyone's property values to where they were paying more and their properties were worth more, but they really aren't worth as much more as they normally have been.
Yeah.
Just so they could get more money. And so I've had people contacting me outraged. I'm like, hey, it's the Republicans who are in charge of PVA that have done this, and our judge executive who's Republican who's done this. It's not us.
No, it isn't us. And the problem is we're in a similar position. Like we bought this house in 2019. It was like $249,000. And that to me, like nearly made me want to vomit because it was almost doubling our mortgage that I had before, but it was more space with my stepdaughters. And I didn't know at the time I was pregnant. But most importantly, it was closer to my work so I could walk to work. Well, now my house is worth more than double that. And our rates keep going up, our payments. And if we sold it, we would make money, but we couldn't afford to live anywhere else, not even an apartment. So it's troublesome. It's troublesome.
Yeah, exactly. And then I know another big issue that we're seeing out of Indiana, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, that a lot of people have paid attention to was redistricting. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. So
I know that's juicy.
It is juicy. And anyone in the state of Indiana and beyond, I know we have been calling and emailing and writing and all of the things to our legislators on the local and federal level since January. I know I'm not alone in this. And I am so proud of Hoosiers because not only have we been doing that, but we've been showing up. People have been protesting at the state house, and local courthouses, and we were able to stomp this down. Like you were saying earlier, 21 Republicans voted with our 10 state senators. So it was 31-19, which is a very small majority of Republicans, but we were able to do it and they listened to us. Some of them gave terrible excuses as to why they're just now listening to us. Because let me tell you, make no mistake about it, they did not redistrict these lines, but they did some major damage this year and completely ignored us. They are killing us with our data centers. They are killing us with our school vouchers. They are killing us with Senate Bill 1. So yes, this is a win, but we are going to vote these Republicans out up and down the ballot next fall. We absolutely are.
And what's Senate Bill 1 doing to you guys?
Senate Bill 1, the biggest thing it's doing is it's hurting, like what I was saying in that example earlier, it's hurting our local income tax. And by hurting our local income tax, by raising it and by reducing our property tax, it's stealing money from our schools. And Governor Braun did that. It was on no one. People keep, oh, I voted for this. No, they did not. They did not vote for this because none of this, to include Senate Bill 1, to include the redistricting and all of the other BS that they passed, none of this was on the platforms of the Republicans. They wanted law and order and secure borders. They are stealing our immigrant neighbors. They are stealing our American citizen neighbors. They are doing God knows what to them. They are putting them in the worst places possible. So no, Republicans didn't vote for this. And the ones who claim that they did are just terrible humans, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that.
So, again, I know I'm jumping around all over the place, but a lot of the issues when I speak to voters, especially here in Kentucky, is a lot of them don't understand what each elected office actually does, what their scope of control really is. So can you explain to us about Secretary of State? What are their duties? What can they control? And then what is out of the realm that they can
Yeah,
control?
absolutely. So the biggest job of the Secretary of State in Indiana, which I should say, all states, their secretaries of state have a little bit different roles. Most of them do oversee the elections and the voting process. And if you know, which probably similar to Kentucky, we have nearly the lowest voter turnout in the country. We're nearly dead last. And we've been like that for a long time, and it's been a trend for a long time. So this isn't just something new or unique to the last 4 years. And with that, for well, we also oversee securities. We oversee automobile dealerships in the InBiz website. So where people go to get LLCs, notary public, things like that. It's a customer service job. And I've done customer service my entire life. I have worked since I was 14 dealing with customers in some capacity. But the biggest thing is I want to increase our voter turnout. And I'm not just saying I want to increase Democratic voter turnout. I want to increase across the board voter turnout because 60% voted for Trump. However, that is only 60% of the registered voting population. That's not 60% of our state population. That's not even 60% of registered voters. It's only 60% of the registered voters who decided to show up. 38% of Indiana registered voters didn't show up at all. And a lot of them are Democrats. And a lot of that is because we are just tired of the status quo nonsense. We are tired of the amount of money and nepotism in politics. We're tired of the lies and the backroom deals. We're tired of the gaslighting. And how do we fix that? We educate our voters. And I want to do that with the Secretary of State's office. Many other states do this already, but I want to have delivered to everyone's door. We'll support the United States Postal Service. We still have 10% of our population, over 600,000 residents in Indiana without access to the internet, which I will assume then that they also are in library deserts. So hard copies, even though as an environmentalist, not my favorite thing to do, but who doesn't love having something tangible to hold and read and to write notes in, right? Of course, it'll be digital as well, but voter guidebooks. So we will send directly to your door when your election is in your area, where your polling site is, where your polling hours are, and most importantly, who is on your ballot. Republicans, Democrats, Independent, Green Party. Some information about those candidates. If they choose not to answer, we will throw them right under the bus and say, candidate refused to answer. We will put on there where they can find more information. If they're an incumbent, what's some legislation or policy they've passed? What are some viewpoints that they've had? Where's their social media? So you can see, did this person support what's happening to us right now in the past? More than likely, if they're Republican, they did. So in my mind, that's not just education, but it's also transparency. We pay our politicians with our tax dollars. We are currently being taxed without appropriate representation in all levels of government. And the Secretary of State's office is where it needs to start. And I know that I will be the only candidate who is not only going to be refusing to take big corporate dollars, big corporate tax dollars, and largely GOP-backed money. I'm going to be the only candidate who cares enough about people being educated, even if that means that in 2028, I get elected out of office because I gave them that information. So I think this also reduces the amount of money in Indiana politics because grassroots and people power candidates like myself will be able to be in front of every single voter with that guidebook.
Gotcha. That getting that information out is so important. Again, there's so many people, especially here, that I see that don't have that information. You look, I was like, oh, well, I only knew the incumbent was on the ballot. I didn't know no one else was.
Mm-hmm.
And always getting that information out.
But that would help you too.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes so much off of people's plates as candidates because I want to be talking to people, not calling people begging for money. Yes, I'm doing my call time if Caleb and Julie and they are my team. But think about how much more productive we could be as candidates if even when we're going to be reelected, we have a little bit less time to spend on fundraising because our voters are already going to have that information and they're going to have a ballot buddy to take with them to the polls of all the candidates they liked the most, their names, and they can just fill it in and go. We don't have to worry about straight ticket voting anymore because we know who we want to support on all sides of the ballot. So I think it's super important. It should be federal law, in my opinion, that if you're voting, you get something with information about your candidates.
Absolutely.
And when I win in the next election, I can help make that happen.
Yes. See? Oh, I'm falling off my little thing.
So I have one more question regarding Secretary of State, and then I'll let Spencer. I've kind of hogged a lot of the time already, but here in Kentucky, the way that our elections are set up, we have locations within each county. You're not in a specific precinct. You can go to any location in the county. And when that first happened during COVID, it was a good idea because it eliminated the long lines and eliminated we had the mail-in ballots, so it eliminated all of that we had with COVID. But now that we're out of COVID, they never reinstated the other polling places, and we are seeing areas like, for example, we have in my county, a place called Richardsville that very older population, can't drive very far. The closest polling location that was about 25 minutes away. And when asked to put a polling location back out in their community, we were told, well, no, they can get over it. They can drive. Yeah. So are you seeing that? Is that how Indiana's set up with their voting? And are you seeing that mentality in counties in Indiana as well? And how would you fix that?
That is an excellent question. And the way I fix it is by putting this to a vote to Hoosiers. But before I can do that, I need to work with the legislature to get ballot initiatives passed. So that's very important to me. I want to support and empower our county clerks. It is a thankless job. They are not paid living wages in most counties. And I really want to work with them to get creative ways to encourage them to help spread the word about elections and reminders and things like that. But most importantly, I'd really like to offer an opt-in option for absentee ballots. Right now in Indiana, we basically have to beg and plead for an absentee ballot, and then we have to do it every time there's an election. So if we have the opt-in option, it gives people ample time with their new voter book that I would provide to vote by mail. But it also, and people with disabilities, working parents, if the clerks don't want to work more than 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., because that's our hours right now, which sounds like a lot. But if I'm working from 8 to 5:30 and I have to pick up my daughter at 5:30 or 6 o'clock and have her dropped off at 7:30 and my husband's out of town, that means I have to wake her up at 5 a.m. to get out the door and get her to go with me at 6 a.m. to vote. And hopefully the line is short enough to make sure that she's at daycare on time at 7:30 and then I can get to work. You know what I mean? Like, It's not easy. And I'm saying that as a middle-class white woman with a partner, two working parents. We're also both political candidates, so we add a little extra layer of that to ourselves. But I don't think voting should be this much of a struggle. So most importantly, we do have it in Indiana. So we call those vote centers, where you can vote anywhere in the county, but there's fewer locations where there's not one in each precinct. Why can't there be the best of both worlds, where we are funding vote locations in every county, but we can treat them as voting centers where you can vote at any of them in your county, if you choose to do it in person and not do the absentee ballot. I just think we need to make it better, and we need to make our tax dollars work more for us. And to add to that, I will also want to allow poll workers to work half days. They currently are not allowed to do that. And I want to extend the hours. So again, that's all Blythe's dream. But I would put this in the form of a survey to Hoosiers so that I want them to have some stake in the game. If they can't put it on the ballot just yet, let's do some surveys and let's see what Hoosiers want as well, because this isn't just about me. I know from my experience what makes it easier and better and right, but it's not just about Blythe.
Awesome.
So what is your rate of folks who actually vote with mail-in ballots? Because I know, when I was in the military, my roommate, back in, I think, 2001, was from Oregon. And he said since the 90s, or maybe even before that, they've been doing mail-in ballots only forever. And, they mail every single person a ballot and give them that opportunity to vote.
For the entire state?
That's what yeah. Been that way for a very long time. So
they must be a blue state.
They are.
They are. Well, that might be why they are. I don't know.
What state did you say it was? Did you already tell me?
Oregon.
Oregon. Oh, yeah. Go figure. I would love that. So I didn't have this information off the top of my head. So quick AI overview. Oh, that's not true. These are students. I need to do a better search.
The president has gone back and forth. Oh, no one should vote via mail. And then the next time around, he heard, oh, he got more that way. Yeah, let's vote mail. And the next, recently, it's let's get rid of mail-in votes. It's like, no, it's the feds don't need to decide that.
Yeah, they really don't. And it's really unfortunate that kind of back and forth from the president, our commander in chief, someone who is supposed to be a good leader and telling us true and factual and safe information. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I'm going to look this up while you guys talk.
But I don't know, Willie, if you also saw that one of the biggest things that's going to hurt me and will hurt quite a few of your constituents is 35,000 VA healthcare worker jobs are being cut right now. It's on the chopping block, and we're supposed to build a community-based outpatient clinic on Ring Road, which is a block away from my house. So that'll be in my district, and I've been really excited about that. Means I don't have to drive, to Fort Knox, but I'm also very concerned about this because we have quite a few small areas that have these outpatient clinics, community-based outpatient clinics. You've got one in Grayson. You've got them all over, a lot of small towns here in Kentucky, and that keeps elderly veterans and folks even my age, from having to drive hour and a half, 3 hours, 5 hours to either Lexington, Louisville, Nashville. It's really unfair, and it's just not doing a service. Especially, we're getting ready to go have another war in Venezuela, and we're attacked in Syria, and just lost some folks and others wounded, and yet we don't plan to take care of the vets when they come home. That's
for an administration and for a representative, especially in our district, who likes to claim his military background going to West Point, they sure are throwing our veterans under the bus more and more every single day.
Yeah.
And that's not how I think we should be operating. We should be doing everything we can to help them. They put their life on the lines for our country. We need to do everything we can to make sure that they're taken care of here.
Well,
especially we're playing a war
under the bus.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe the people that's on the Epstein list, we can throw them under the bus.
Hold them accountable too. It's not throwing us if that's holding them accountable. Right now, we're scapegoats, and they're still, and we've done it forever, deporting our immigrant veterans.
Yeah. No one was called on that. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Had 3 veterans. One was zooming in from South Korea. And it's absolutely incredible.
Was that the same hearing where she got up and just left?
Yeah, she couldn't take the heat, and then which the congressman later is like, I have it on good authority that meeting's already been canceled. She said she had to go to.
I'm sure it was, and it's unfortunate because she actually had the opportunity to throw Biden, Obama, other presidents under the bus who have also, even some Democratic presidents, deported American veterans who were immigrants.
Yeah.
But we had about 6,000 people last year vote by mail, which is
wow,
1% of the voting population.
Man.
So not good.
Did you guys not allow anyone but folks that are house ridden to do it, or
we have to beg and have a justifiable answer to get an absentee ballot if we're not senior citizens?
Yeah.
Wow.
Super fun here.
Yeah. That's
So this isn't policy related, but my run-in with our Secretary of State, I want to tell you a little bit of a funny story. So in 2022, we were having a mayoral election here in my small little city, and my mayor candidate at the time, he's my next door neighbor. His son went to go vote. And the way my city is, we're really small. We are about like a mile long, only have like 550 people. And so there's a county portion of our city that's called Plum Springs, and then there's the city Plum Springs. They were trying to give his son, who was living next door to me at the time, address on his driver's license said that and everything, was trying to give him the county portion of the ballot to where he couldn't vote for the mayor. And the son ended up not voting because he was mad. He was like, I just wanted to vote for my dad for mayor and that's it. And ended up leaving. Well, the mayor and he won. And so we called the next day the Secretary of State here, Michael Adams, and said, hey, our county clerk, like she got involved and she said, well, you're just gonna have to get over it. And this is the ballot you're gonna have to use. And Michael Adams, I will say, he did call our county clerk, put our mayor, he was on speakerphone with me, put him on silence and ask her the question of what went on. And she lied to him. And he was like, well, I have Mr. Minton and Mr. Compton here. Can you please tell them where the lie was that they just told me? And
Really?
but yes. And so,
Huh.
but nothing was ever done to her after that, though. It was just a egg in the face moment. And then that was it. And now I don't know how much the Secretary of State could hold them accountable for that. But the
You
fact that
didn't
she
run that
kept,
to the. You didn't take that to the media?
well, at the time, no, because he was like, well, we'll take care of it. He had already, like I said, thrown egg in her face. And so we thought something was going to go on. And I will also say, when our mayor got into office, we also found out our former mayor was stealing money. So that ended up being on our line of sight. But I don't know how much the Secretary of State could have held her accountable. I don't know what those actions are. But just the fact
That's a
that
good
all he
question.
did,
Do you know,
yeah,
Blythe?
yeah.
I don't. We have a similar situation here in Miami County. I'm sure it's in other counties. I just don't know about them. So let's the county district, let's pretend it's like this square block. Well, right in the middle of it, there is an apartment complex, and just that apartment complex could not vote for it for whatever it was. It was similar to that situation where like just this small part in the middle of this district couldn't vote for mayor or something that
Was it
the Republican.
low income? So it was gerrymandering or what?
Absolutely gerrymandering on a municipal level. And I know there was a petition to the Secretary of State's office. I don't believe our Secretary of State ever did anything with it, nor would they. Let's pretend I'm Secretary of State and that happens. And let's pretend that's out of my jurisdiction because the legislature and likely the municipal, that's probably a municipal election board, something that determines that. I would still cause a ruckus. I would make sure the media knew about it, give them the information, and throw the people under the bus who are refusing to acknowledge that this is a problem, this is discrimination, and this is trying to stack the deck. I mean, it sounds like it didn't work in this situation, but trying to stack votes, because we know in some of these municipal elections, 6 votes can make or break a win.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, we were fortunate in that election. It was a huge landslide.
Thank goodness.
So,
but it's still wrong.
Yeah.
Right? That would be like them saying my husband couldn't, or I couldn't vote for my husband, even though I'm his partner and he's running in the district that I live in. If they would.
What's he running for?
House District 47. It's actually shaped like a duck.
So
use the duck as a logo, which is insane. Trying to drop it in the chat for you. It's pretty hysterical. But we've had that situation. Kelly Thompson, I don't know if you've connected with her. She's running for Indiana Congressional District 3. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I've heard of her. Yes.
She's amazing. Well, they did that to her for her House race. So she ran for state rep and almost won. So when they redrew the lines, like here's her neighbor, here's her property, and they like literally cut her out of
Oh
it
my
so that she
gosh.
lost a good chunk of those constituents. Yeah, if when she ran again. It's bad, but that's what we do in Republican controlled states. And that is
Yep.
just the norm. And people are told that they're in the minority, so don't bother working with it. But we're not. Most Hoosiers want the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you mentioned that we had, I don't know if you know her, her name's Patty Benter, amazing Democratic activist. She is a teacher at Western Kentucky University. She was in our state house,
Oh,
the
wow.
only Democrat in Western Kentucky. And when they gerrymandered, they sliced out the largest portion of her voting block and threw it in with a really big Republican area. And she still lost, but she was barely a loss. It was so close. But they spent the most money for a House race getting her out of there about 2 cycles ago. And then our state, my county, we had one state senator. And in the redistricting, we went from one state senator to 3.
Oh my God.
And again, they pizza sliced us. So like my Senate, it's like almost like a horseshoe around, almost like what James Comer's congressional district does. Horseshoes around Barron County and back up. So it's just crazy.
It's so crazy. And the amount of time it takes them to do this.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
I was like, oh my God, did I hit something? The amount of time it must take them to do this is ridiculous. Think of all the tax dollars wasted just to try to win votes instead of just making it, okay, here's 50,000 people in this district. Here's 50,000 people in this district. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We should not be doing this to stack the deck. That isn't fair. It goes completely against what, and I don't care about the way our country was founded necessarily because it was cruel, but that's not what they wanted.
Yeah. Oh no, exactly. They're picking their voters instead of the voters picking them.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. And that's on the federal level, we do need to, and because of all this redistricting fighting, we're starting to see Republicans on the federal level who are in these areas that are like in California that are starting to worry because their seats have been gerrymandered because they're fighting back, are starting to say, well, we need independent redistricting. Well, of course. It only took you possibly losing your seat to realize that. So.
Yeah. Right. Now, Blythe, as a also as a school teacher, I teach English language arts now in JCPS in Jefferson County. What has having school vouchers done to Indiana's educational system? Because when I first started teaching here in Kentucky, I noticed that Indiana made every single public school teacher have their year's worth of lesson plans on the day one of school. And I can't imagine that, exactly. But that was like, oh, we're going to make sure that you're not teaching diversity, equity, or inclusion. So you're going to let us see your plans. I mean, how is that also is that pushed any teachers out from what you've seen?
Oh, yes. So that was a legislative decision, as well as the vouchers, but there are 2 different pieces of legislation that did that. So we are losing teachers left and right. I mean, we're also losing medical care providers, which is a whole different ballgame. So what we started in 2013, our voucher program, and there used to be a cap. And what they were trying to say is, oh, well, if these people are in lower income areas, this allows them to go to a private school and get a better education. It doesn't. Our public school teachers, I went to public school through K through 12. I went to a public college for 4 years right after high school. That is not the college I ended up graduating from. However, we have amazing educators in this state. They are overworked. They are underpaid. They are underappreciated. They are abused by parents, by the administration, by the legislators. And a lot of these teachers, they stick around because they do it because they freaking love our children and our communities. Spiraled a little bit there. Fast forward to 2024, we removed all income caps And the bulk of the people using these vouchers make over $250,000 a year, which is
Yeah.
more money than I make.
And that was intentional all along, was trying to get their
Yep.
tax money back.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely, because it's benefiting our wealthy families. Not to say that underserved or underprivileged communities aren't able to use this also, but if you're poor and you're only getting 10% of your tuition paid for at a private school, you're not going to do it, right?
No.
But if you're wealthy and it saves you a couple $1,000s a year, you're going to do it because that's what wealthy people do. So yeah, we've removed all limits and it's just a free for all on our public schools, and we're losing millions per district.
Gosh.
Well, we were talking about earlier, my grandfather went to public school over there in Odin, Indiana, very small town over there where the Amish are. But he was able to use that public school education, go to he moved some point in his life, I'm still trying to figure out when, to Louisville, and public school education. He worked at night, went to night school for law school. At Jefferson Law School was eventually absorbed into U of L, so it's now the Brandeis School of Law. But hey, if it's good enough for him, I think it's good enough for me. And I know that small town kids in places like Odin, there aren't any private schools that will be able to take the vouchers. So all that's doing, and all those rural areas that my Kentucky and Indiana family are from, that doesn't help our progeny at all.
Yeah.
It
And
really
it is.
upsets me.
It's
Because
our
he went a long way without public education. He became Kentucky Commissioner of Highways. He was a JAG officer under under MacArthur, World War II. So he was actually the JAG officer that went into Japan, had them sign their legal papers to surrender, took those back, and signed them with MacArthur on the battleship. That's what public education could do for you. You don't have, we don't have to help the blue bloods make more money like Guthrie,
Yeah,
here in Kentucky.
Well, and if let's pretend the public education is a problem, then strengthen what the teachers are learning.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Exactly.
Well, we're learning. You went to grad school at WKU, was it, William? Or
I'll be honest, I actually I started grad school, then COVID hit, and so I still just have my bachelor's.
Okay. Well,
I
did.
That's still a big deal.
Yeah, no, not at all. But I think our education, in Kentucky is good. The VA paid for me to go to Bellarmine University for my graduate school education, but we really focused on how to help public schools. And from what I saw of all my contemporaries in Kentucky and Indiana who were going to Bellarmine, to get their degree while also teaching at the same time like I was, the problem is not that we're not getting a good education to be teachers and we're not being properly prepared. We absolutely are. But as we were talking about in a staff meeting the other day, I believe COVID showed us just how much public school teachers are actually doing. They're actually raising the kids. We talked about behaviors. They came back from COVID, and we've been dealing with behaviors that we didn't have before COVID. Just outlandish, outrageous behaviors. We've been raising them. It just that's just the simple fact. And it's not all. I'm not necessarily hammering on parents, but they expect us to deliver the highest performing students in the nation, while at the same time, when you call home and the parents, we ask, hey, this is what your child's been doing, that's your problem. When we get that type of answer, being the parent and the teacher all at the same time, that's something that our society really needs to look at. And I'm not trying to sound like a Republican, but that's just just the way it is. So to blame us for everything, I think it's the community needs to look at what are we putting on the shoulders of teachers, and to not treat us like professionals. Now we're found out that the administration wants to list nurses and teachers as not being professional degrees. Really? Almost every teacher I know either has a master's degree or is working on it, or, and many of them even PhDs. So that's ludicrous.
And it still all goes back to the 1% not being taxed enough. Because think about it. Let's pretend it's your job to raise kids.
Yeah.
I don't believe it is.
I'm not even necessarily saying it's not, but after COVID, at least you could have given us the recognition. Oh my gosh, I had to deal with my kids 7 days a week, and most people still had to work. Most except for the 1% who they could afford to have one parent staying at home during COVID, but I had to still go to work during COVID. It was COVID that made me decide to become a teacher. I was working the VA and I was in Montana after retiring from the military. And I'm like, this is when I just saw what was happening educationally, trying to homeschool my kids. I'm like, no,
it's hard.
I need to step in and put my, money where my body, where my mouth is, get into action and get into education. So I switched careers due to that. But
I think that's where veterans are playing such a special role right now, because a lot of us that what happened during COVID gave us a flip of our script, and say it's because of all of that fallout that I'm even in politics. It's because of that fallout or in a different career. But if we were to tax the wealthy an appropriate amount, we could have universal education, universal healthcare, universal childcare. We would be able to support our public school teachers with assistants, aides, professionals who can help with this behavioral stuff.
Oh, I mean,
so much happened during COVID.
You just can't imagine. I mean, maybe you can because you brought it up. So maybe you have, I get a feeling you have a clue. If we had professional teachers' aides, not just, us masters trained teachers, but if we actually had professional teachers' aides in the classrooms, how much more I could do for my students, how much more I could reach them. Just every day, I try not to let the kids know this, but sometimes I lose sleep. Like, man, what am I doing? Their test scores aren't coming up. So where did I go wrong? This year I have, for the first time in my career, I've got 2 classes that they're almost, they've got on autopilot. They're so well behaved. And when they don't get great scores, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to step up, the game?
So sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's environmental. The stress on parents, the stress on the parents who are working, the stress on the parents who are working, and also trying to accommodate for our local income taxes going up, our property taxes going up, our mortgage going up, our utilities going up. All of it still goes back to that us, the workers, the working class, are trying to cover more ground with less. While our billionaires and millionaires, largely our opponents in politics, are thriving because they get the tax breaks, they get the support, and it's all on our backs, and it's so bad.
So speaking of that, I do want to tell everyone else who's listening the story I told you earlier before we started. So I went out to the grocery store Friday night and was shopping around, and of course, seeing all the prices continuing to rise at our grocery stores. And I had just seen that a pound of Maxwell House in those blue containers here in my city is almost $28 for just 1 pound of coffee. It's ridiculous. And I found someone while I was going through the store that I used to work with, very conservative, registered Republican, and her and I were having a conversation. And of course, she was telling me she had this surgery, had that surgery, she was doing this, and she's like, these prices are high. It's like, yeah, and they're going to keep going up. And her exact words were, I voted for Trump. I thought he would do better than what he's doing. He doesn't have to worry about this like we do. If I see him again, if I ever see him in person, I will punch him in the face.
Yeah.
you
We've been
know,
lied to and
And
gaslit.
yes,
yeah,
and that's what
yeah,
he's not working for the people on this call right now. He's not working for our neighbors, our friends. He's working
yeah.
for those big donors that help keep him from going bankrupt again.
Yep.
And
And that is why we
Blythe,
get money out of politics.
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Now, Blythe, I think you mentioned that you voted early on for Republicans. I remember when I first voted, it was in 1990, where my dad took me to register to vote when I was 17, about to turn 18. I turned 18 in 1989, but December actually. Actually, it was probably this week of that year. My dad took me to register to vote, and I thought I was Republican, and he took me down to register. And when I was trying to put my name in the R, he's like, "Oh no, son, in Kentucky you can't vote in the primary. There is no primary for Republicans. And in our family we vote for the rooster. But now, so I did register as a Democrat, but I
Wow.
voted for President the first Bush, but the rest of my ticket was Democrat. Now, for a bit there, I was talking to my grandma. Remember, she's from Indiana. She's the one from Lafayette and Fort Wayne area. But she married a Kentucky doctor. She met my grandfather while he was in med school at U of L. And so I was sitting in Appalachia where they lived in the 90s. And I was telling her, spewing some Republican, talking points. And my grandma was like, "Spencer, one day you're going to see, the Republicans are just for the rich people." And here we were, my grandma, their living standards as country doctor for Appalachia would be considered wealthy by anybody else, but she still saw herself as that depression era child that she and my grandfather come up in. But he's like, you're going to see it one of these days. And sure enough, I did my first 4 years as an active duty, got into Navy ROTC, went to college down in Nashville. It's probably, I don't know if this is when I was telling her that or not. No, I think it's before that. So first time I got sick and I had to go have my spine tapped and have all these tests done, CTs, everything, just to find out. They said, "Oh, you've got a viral syndrome, upper respiratory infection." And I think that medical bill from the 90s is still on my, report when it comes to trying to get good credit.
Oh
So
my
she was
God.
right. I
Wow.
quickly learned. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm barking up the wrong tree.
Well,
That's when I joined the College Democrats, and but I still know there's folks out there that they, like you said, they've this party's talked a good talk for a long time. Just got everybody. First it was, "Hey, they're going to come after your guns." I've still got a slew of guns and buying more. Next, it was, "Oh, they're ruining our families." I think that's what I was told when I was in college. By allowing gays, trying to get them to vote. And like I remember thinking, yeah, I don't think my mom and dad got divorced because there was a gay person on campus in Moorhead, Kentucky. I think it had more to do with my dad's Vietnam PTSD, but never said that to him. But just
well,
one
and
thing
he
after
probably had
another.
no
It just
support
keeps
for
on
that.
going down the line. What's that?
He probably had no support for that PTSD.
Yeah. Oh no, he didn't. It was unrecognized. And till Agent Orange killed him. A year after he found my brother dead in his closet because my brother lost his leg and hand in Afghanistan, and Dad finds him hanging, and then we bury my brother in Arlington, and next year I get a call. I was living out in Montana, working at VA, and get a call. "Hey, you need to come out to Lexington and decide what to do about your dad. He's on life support." So Agent Orange cancer had got him 2 years in a row. But it's those things. It's the little guy that we think we're voting our own interest, but no, it's just been the tax breaks for the rich. That's all we've gotten out of this. I like someone to really point out something that has affected us. Price of my ribeye hasn't gotten any cheaper. The Republicans being in the office. Matter of fact, mine got more expensive with the way we're helping out the Argentinian, folks with their cattle these days.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's so hard. And veterans really do get the rough end of the stick. And I learned that the hard way too when I came home from Iraq with my health care. I had 90 days, and this was 2006. So it's been a bit. I had 90 days to find my own insurance.
Yeah. And which it should not have been that way.
Excuse me? What? Yeah. 90 days.
Well, and I didn't have any, so I had, to basically go back on active duty, enlisted, didn't get to finish my degree and get that commission I was, searching for at the time.
Well, and they do that on purpose, because if they offer free healthcare and benefits like that through the military, it strengthens the military. But if you just give it to anybody, then the military suffers, and we have to have the most money going to the Department of Defense. Duh.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Yeah.
I agree. So I hate that I have to do this because we're reaching 52 minutes, but we do have to wrap up here. So Blythe, before we go, any final words? How can people reach you? How can they follow your campaign? And what would you like the people to know as the last message?
I can be found at blythepotter.com, BlythePotter. I'm at Blythe Potter IN on all social media channels. As I mentioned, I am completely grassroots and people powered. So if you have an extra $5 to throw my way, even if you're out of state, please consider donating. I am literally going up against the machine in many ways, on all the ways. But thank you for having me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for still talking about politics in this manner, because we have to be doing it even though we're exhausted.
Yes. And Blythe, I do want to say, if you haven't seen it already, there's a website called moneyoutofpolitics.com, and they have a candidate pledge. And I actually signed it for my race. I'm the only candidate in my race, both Democrat and Republican, to have signed it, that says that you won't take any money from corporate PACs. You won't take money from APAC. You only take it from grassroots candidates.
Awesome.
So something that you should look into. And they do a lot of good videos. They go on to TikTok and record with candidates as well. So
thanks. I will check that. I just put it in my browser so I can make sure I go check it out.
Yes, I love it. All right. So,
are you running unopposed, Blythe, or are you?
I am very much opposed.
No, I mean primary opposed.
Oh yes, I am.
Okay.
Literally going against the machine. My opponent is a third generation political legacy, multi-millionaire family. I am disrupting the plan in all the best ways. But I think this race, and I have no ill will toward them, no ill will toward anyone supporting that campaign. But we all see the divide happening in Democratic politics. There's a tug of war between the grassroots and this is how we've always done it. We need all these millions of dollars. It doesn't matter where it comes from. People, I'm the one on the left, literally and figuratively. So it's interesting. And I'm very optimistic. I have a lot of support. The progressives in Indiana, regardless of whether or not they want to identify as Democrats, are very much supporting me. So it's going to be it'll be a good race.
Good.
Awesome.
And now, when's your primary?
June 6th. I'm right now looking for delegates in the state of Indiana to sign up between January 7th at noon and February 6th at noon to fill out a Can 37 to be a delegate to vote for me. That is how I get on the November ballot. And if anyone wants information about that, hit me up, because I promise you, I will find a way to find you.
Okay. Awesome. So, Spencer, any final closing remarks for us tonight?
Yeah, just, I think that it's imperative that we all realize, we've got to change course. And part of that changing course is really, rethinking, hey, has what I've been doing really helped me out? If you're the independent voter and you think, I really like what Republicans are doing, well, what is it that they're really doing for you? And if you're Republican light, might be the time now to really consider, hey, I want to see America truly be first, not these corporate interests that are global.
Yeah, that's well said. Well said. So I want to thank everybody who is watching this, whether it's right now or later on. I truly appreciate you all. Make sure that you double check your registration wherever you are, whether it's in Kentucky, Indiana, or whatever state. Make sure you get your friends registered to vote. Make sure you know when your primary elections, your general elections are, and make sure you support the candidates in your area that you truly believe in.
Can I give one more shout out to both of you then?
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so Blythe, do you know Indiana? I don't know. Is it a state where if you're an independent, you could actually vote for a Democrat in the primary? Or do you have to be party affiliated in order to vote in the primary?
Nope. Our primaries are May 5th, and you can pull any ballot you want. So if you've always pulled Republican or independent, or you rarely vote in the primaries, it is so important to vote in the primaries. So you can't vote for me in our primaries, but vote anyway. But if you want to be a delegate and vote in my primary, we can definitely get you on that. And it is actually an elected position. So very important.
With
Awesome.
William again, to push out for him, we need those independent voters here in Kentucky to be willing, even if it's just and Republican, be willing, hey, just this one time around, switch your affiliation, make it Democrat, and then after January, right? And isn't that the deadline there, William?
Well, they have to register by December 31st.
By December 31st. Yeah.
Yes. Or if they're a newly registered voter, they have to register by April 20th.
But if they're, registered as an independent or Republican, now's the time. Register as a Democrat. After this election, go back. Switch it to whichever way you want. I understand some people just want to be independent, and it is what it is. But let's give William and other people a chance to actually make a difference. Talk about grassroots. Only if we can get him elected in the primary will that happen. So days are ticking. We're now the 14th.
Is with Democrats. It is the only way out of this mess in a two-party system. I also want third parties to be able to be viable. But give me more information about that. I'll make some content on it for Kentucky, because that is major voting suppression if you cannot decide what primary ballot you pick.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for watching. And again, please have a wonderful holiday season. Treat each other with kindness, with respect, and share this with anyone that you feel needs to hear this message. Thank you all so much.
Our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper, right?
Yes. Thank you all so much, and have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you.
God bless your corazón.